Okay, guys, I'm gonna put on my Democrat hat for a moment, and in order to facilitate that and recreate a situation where I would have sold my soul, I just listened to that song Tequila by Dan and Shay 3 times in a row. So I think that kind of counts. Um, so Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she fell and she fractured her ribs, and Twitter quickly offers to donate their bones, which was pretty funny. I have to admit. Uh, Throwing a robe over Kate McKinnon and hastening her onto the bench, folks. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is fine. This person says, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg needs ribs, I have like dozens of them that I'm not using. Let's do this. These are by the way, verified people on Twitter. I forgot what Lauren Duca. I don't remember what she does. Her name is really familiar though. We'll come back in a second. Lauren Duca. Jeez Louise. Then a bunch of random people. This one says it's like $83 at Walmart. I'll personally pay for it. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, this is your new home. She's getting him a bubble shield, I guess, if that's what I would call that. I think this is hilarious. Not the fact. I obviously don't feel good that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is in the hospital and sick, and people are speculating about whether this is the end and whether she's going to retire and everything. I would say this, okay? So I'm putting my Democrat hat on again, and let me see here. Award-winning and losing freelance journalist. I don't know who the hell this is. But she appears to be like a very liberal person. She's followed by a bunch of these conservative people. But in any case, I'm putting my Democrat hat on, and this would have been the right way to have handled the situation with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, so this would have never have been an issue. And I've said this several times. In 2012, Barack Obama was reelected, and he had, I believe, a majority of 52 in the Senate, if not even more. He might have had a majority of 53. He was reelected, and he had a majority. All he had to do, and this is pretty, it's pretty simple, is get together with Harry Reid and walk over to Hearst Chambers and say, look, we respect you. We know that you were appointed to the bench by Bill Clinton because of your qualifications and everything, but unfortunately, we want to be able to ensure that the court is, your legacy continues through a valid successor that would carry on your views. And obviously, I wouldn't have supported that successor, me personally, even though I have my Democrat hat on. But that would have been just a very wise decision. That's exactly the type of decision that a lot of justices do. I think the guy who retired in 2010, John Paul Stevens, specifically retired at that time, and he was, I think he was over 80 years old, and that was a good decision on his part. If you want your seat to be taken by somebody who is consistent with your agenda, if you have the opportunity, it's a wise decision to retire. And none of the people concerned, that, to my knowledge, whether it's Obama, whether it's Ginsburg, whether it was Harry Reid, and Harry Reid was one of the, say what you want. I don't think that there's many things I'd agree with Harry Reid on, but he was a much shrewder senator and majority leader than anybody that the Democrats have today. Harry Reid is, I would say, okay, the last smart Democratic leader, because the rest of them are. I mean, Chuck Schumer has been. Well, what has he succeeded at? Chuck Schumer has been the minority leader, and he's going to continue to be the minority leader for a while now. I don't think that I'd have to check the map for the 2020 elections, but I don't think that he can get the Senate back in 2020, regardless of what happens with Trump. I think Chuck Schumer is basically looking at the rest of his career as the minority leader, because it's much more difficult to flip the Senate within one cycle. Remember that when the Republicans flipped the Senate, I believe they had to chip away at Barack Obama's majority. They had take it down from 60 to 54 in 2010, if I remember correctly. And then in 2012, I don't remember if they even gained any seats. And then finally in 20, so it took 3 cycles in order to get that back. The Democrats, I don't think, are competent enough to do it the same way, because they just, in many of the states where the Republicans defend seats, the Democrats simply don't have very good statewide parties, and you can pour as much money as you want in, but in the end, a lot of these states, let's say, for argument's sake, North Carolina, they don't want an AstroTurf candidate. It just doesn't look very natural. So that's regarding Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I personally would say this. Okay, a lot of the people out there saying, that they hope that she dies and whatever. I can't do it anyway, because I'm in Facebook jail for cussing somebody out until I think in 2 more days or whatever. And plus, I think Facebook is pretty much losing its. In a few months, we're going to see Facebook kind of really go through some convulsions that are leading towards its own ultimate death. I would say Facebook is the perfect metaphor for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They're both very like gigantic figures that are basically well past their prime, and I'm not afraid to say that. But I don't wish her death. I would say that for somebody to continue to go to work at the Supreme Court for no reason. First of all, let's say you buy into this notion, which is an oversimplification, that the court is divided very clearly along ideological lines, as if none of the justices have their own private opinions and differences with other ones. Let's assume that holds. Well, they're still losing. They're still losing 5-4 anyway. Now that she's going to be hospitalized, they're losing 5-3. So I mean, I guess real strategy there. So while she's incapacitated, what do you think? The Supreme Court gets suspended? What you think? Do you think a Supreme Court justice that's incapacitated paralyzes the Supreme Court? You're out of your friggin' mind. These people are out of their friggin' minds that they think that it serves anyone's purpose that Ruth Bader Ginsburg would remain on the court well past the age of sound health and dexterity. She's just not, and it's inhumane that what she's putting herself through, which is her choice. Everybody's allowed to continue working as long as they can, especially given that it's a lifetime appointment. It's just not a smart decision. So, I personally hope that she does retire. This isn't somebody who, I disagree very much with her stances on abortion and her stances on a lot of issues. And I think that she is responsible through a lot of her decisions for many of the real social rot in America that can be attributed to the Supreme Court. You can't blame them for everything, but there are certain decisions, and we're not going to go through them right now, that I would say you can't. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg has done enough in her life, and I don't think that she should do more, and she should retire. That's my personal opinion. And those people that are saying that she should keep going after this, well, who's being cruel now? Supposing that she's actually able to go and examine these cases going forward, you already presuppose that the decisions are lost. Okay, so you're actually putting her through even more indignity and possibly embarrassing situations, because she has been having a number of, I believe she's been having like memory loss issues at certain points. This is not fair for the person going through this, that you keep insisting that she remain on the bench to the age of 90. Okay, now their response would be, well, if she retires, then automatically a seat opens up, and that seat is lost for 20-25 years. And everybody understands. I mean, it's true. There's no arguing against that. But the idea that it's prudent to have a Supreme Court where you're holding a seat open for probably 2 years. If, let's say she gets incapacitated and she can't return to work for 10 months, okay? Is that the humane decision? Is that really in the interest of the court to have an 8-person court where it's a 5-3 decision, hypothetically? Because we all know that there are decisions that the liberals hate and the conservatives hate that are per curiam. I think that's what they call it. Per curiam is when the entire court agrees, and there have been several decisions like that on the court. And so those decisions include not just Ginsburg, but the other three supposed liberals, Sotomayor, what's the guy's name? Stephen Breyer and Elena Kagan. They all are capable of making their own decisions. A lot of times, those decisions you really don't agree with. Kagan, for example, I really don't know much about what she thinks. I don't think on a personal level I would get along with her because I've heard a lot of her humor and it's just really cringeworthy, like really cosmopolitan loser humor. But like basically she's like a middle-aged version of those chicks from Broad City, if you know that show. I've seen a few clips from that. So the other judicial issue going on is that suddenly people are pissed that Jeff Sessions is retiring. Jeff Sessions, the man that they smeared for months and it was weeks really because he was confirmed in the end. And they smeared him with no evidence as a racist. They just heard rumors and hearsay that he had said certain things that are kind of edgy, that in a racial way. But those things happened, first of all, decades ago, and second of all, they had no proof of it. And they're comparing this to Watergate, the Saturday Night Massacre, where Richard Nixon had fired the Watergate special counsel, Archibald Cox. And then you had the Attorney General, Elliot Richardson, was also fired, as was his Deputy Attorney General, William Ruckelshaus. And then Robert Bork was, Robert Bork became the Attorney General by default, and then he did fire Archibald Cox. Now that in my opinion was an overstepping of his boundaries by President Nixon. But we don't know yet if Robert Mueller is going to get fired. In my opinion, he should have been fired. I don't think that Robert Mueller, by the way, you don't need to keep the special counsel. You can replace the special counsel. Does anybody know who the original special counsel was with Bill Clinton? A lot of people don't know. His name was Robert Fisk. I don't think that he retired. I think he was in the end just replaced. Because I don't even know if it was Clinton that fired him. But the special counsel can be replaced. So I don't understand why people have this idea that Robert Mueller is basically like Odin or something. He must be restored to the throne of Asgard or something. Bob Mueller is a special prosecutor. He's supposed to have a temporary position. And even that temporary position can be replaced with somebody else. The Office of the Special Prosecutor is designed to deal with a number of like certain issues that are not within the purview of the various district attorneys or the main Justice Department. Okay, that's the best way to describe it. I might have left out a few details. If I'm wrong, you're free to put in the comments. But it's ridiculous. And then there's I think that there's Jeff Sessions protests. So this is a guy they were painting as a KKK member only less than 2 years ago. So a red line crossed. Nationwide protest declared for Thursday at 5 p.m. after Jeff Sessions fired. Trump thought that by waiting until after the polls closed on Election Day, our voices would be silent. He was wrong. And then you have Indivisible going all over the place. Common Dreams is I thought that they would be much more left-wing and skeptical of the Russiagate bullshit than I'm seeing here. But let's see some of these people here. Tens of millions protested the Iraq War before it started, and many more worldwide, and still raging without a whimper of protest. Now the longest war in U.S. history, protest is irrelevant. There's actually, yeah, there's a few comments here. So, yeah, a lot of these people I don't think are genuinely committed to this. This person says, LOL, now protesting on behalf of Jefferson Sessions. Oh man, better than fiction. And then this person replies, says, every day we are shown more and more evidence against the notion that humans are a rational species. And this one says, are you even effing kidding me? And one fascist fires another fascist, and, quote, progressives are supposed to hit the streets when the Nazi black shirts targeted the Nazi brown shirts, or the German people supposed. So this person is fully committed to the notion that Jeff Sessions is a Nazi and Donald Trump is a Nazi, and therefore he's saying, well, I mean, let's just let them take each other out. So you have all sorts of bizarre reactions here. This person says, FYI, do not give any info to move on, especially your real email. Use a fake email. They use info on surveys and other issues, even if you never heard of them. It's a front. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing in terms of reaction to this. It's really just incredible what's going on with these protests. Let me see here. Now, what's the issue that I'm seeing right now that where this is important? So, of course, there is the Mueller investigation, and I was watching Tom Binz's channel, I think a couple of days ago, talking about the possibility. I think that was before Jeff Sessions was fired. The possibility of this being the beginning of a big war in the deep state. I would agree that it's there's a much higher likelihood that Trump will be enabled by this, and that the Democrats have a lot to fear from this. You would have with this new guy, Whitaker. You're really going to have a lot of here we go, the Burlington Free Press of Vermont. So yeah, I think they're hearing you idiots over in Vermont. Now anyway, they are going to have a lot more leeway, Donald Trump and his cabinet right now, because first of all, the Democrats are really going to be going through some sort of internal turmoil now that Nancy Pelosi is likely going to be the Speaker of the House. They're going to have to. She's going to have to depend on the ability to promise to her backers, her supporters within the House, and her donors, that she's going to be able to bring home some bacon from either A, resisting Donald Trump, or B, cooperating with Donald Trump. It's going to be hilarious. So she has to walk a very precarious tightrope right now between pretending to fight Donald Trump and then pretending to help Donald Trump, because people now see her as accountable because she suddenly is in a position where where she could actually affect legislation. Of course, for the past couple years, she's had zero power because she's been in the opposition. All she can do is basically stutter on camera and forget who's the president, pretend that George Bush is still the president. So this is going to be a very strange situation going forward. And the new Attorney General, in any case, Donald Trump can pretty much ram through the Senate. The Democrats don't even have a say in this. It doesn't even matter. And the big question is, why would they care if Jeff Sessions gets fired? First of all, we don't even know if the Mueller case is going to remain under this new guy, which it's not at the moment. It's not under Whitaker. It's still under the previous or the current Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. Once Rod Rosenstein is basically forced to resign, which is not going to be very long in waiting, okay, then you're going to really see them panic and shit their pants. They're going to be so triggered by it. You're not going to believe it. And then all this talk of the new gains in Michigan or whatever, Wisconsin, and so all that's going to be forgotten. All of this euphoria over the mini wave or the, basically, I would call it the sprinkle. It's going to be gone. All their enthusiasm is going to be gone. It already is pretty much gone. Not with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Once they once they understand just how thin of a chance there is that they keep that Supreme Court seat, because I do believe she's going to end up having to retire. They're not going to care about this midterm election. The midterm election is actually going to be a real, basically a damn it, I'm coughing like crazy today. I was, by the way, I was supposed to go to their Turning Points at an event downtown, and I was feeling I was coughing so hard that I was like, fuck it, I'm just going. I ordered some Chinese food and I came home, and that's it. I'm not going anywhere. I think Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens were supposed to go there. So if I haven't said that already, but no. And I was thinking about some questions that I would ask them, including about social autopsy. But in the end, I ended up coming here, and I think that this whole issue of Jeff Sessions getting kicked out of the Attorney General's office is very logical. And everybody's talking about the fact that in the end he was basically useless for Donald Trump. There were a couple issues where people did like him. For example, the fact that he went after child predators and his illegal immigration stance. But everybody hated him for his stances on weed, and of course his decision to cuck out and recuse himself from the Russia investigation. So that's about it. We'll see what happens with both of these stories. There were a couple videos I did want to make today. I don't know if I'm gonna make them just because I think I'm gonna go and relax or something, take a load off. So I'll see you guys later. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to my other channel, Razor Ray Live Wounds, and please share the video and comment when it uploads. And I'll catch you later. Have a great weekend if I don't see you before then.